shook. Trees snapped apart. Sophia were thrown from their seats on roared and lunged at them. Jack got close and signaled for her to run. They sprinted through the two of them clung to the branches all night, trembling. Hunger, Sophia was lifted first, with Jack steadying her climb. The final image linked the wreckage of the plane. Fire licked up the tall trees. Passengers were relaxed. Some were asleep, some were reading books, and others were watching movies. Jack sat in the seat beside her, reading a newspaper. Everything seemed normal, when suddenly a terrifying explosion shook the entire plane. Attendants came running, fear clear on their faces. Over the speakers, their trembling voice echoed, "Please fasten your seatbelts. The engine has failed." The moment these words were heard, chaos erupted inside the plane. Women and children screamed. Some passengers began praying, and others clutched their seats tightly. Sophia's face turned pale. Her hands trembled as she gripped Jack's hand tightly. The plane plunged downward rapidly. From the window, the ground drew closer at a terrifying speed. And everywhere, there were cries, screams, and desperate prayers. Another deafening blast roared, and within moments the plane crashed into a dense forest, shattering into pieces. The earth shook. Trees snapped apart, flames erupted, and thick smoke filled the air. The screams of the injured echoed through the surroundings. Jack and Sophia were thrown from their seats onto the ground. She was crying, tears streaming down her face. Around them lay lifeless bodies and wounded survivors moaning in pain. Around them, pieces of the wreckage were blazing, trees were on fire, flames engulfed the wreckage of the plane. Fire licked up the tall trees, and smoke swallowed the sky. They stumbled forward, running away from the blaze. The path was rough. Creeping vines and thorny bushes tore at their clothes. Several times they fell to the ground, but each time they pulled one another up again. Sophia's feet were wounded, yet Jack supported her and kept her moving. After a while, they reached a somewhat safer area. The fire was now behind them, but dusk was spreading across the forest. The atmosphere grew even more terrifying. The cries of birds, rustling in the bushes, and the distant howls of wolves sent shivers down their spines. Sophia collapsed onto the ground, gasping for breath. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she said, "I'm scared, Jack. This place is unknown. We'll never make it out of here." Jack, exhausted himself, still tried to encourage her. "Fear won't help us. We survived the crash. That means we must fight to keep living. We'll find a way." Suddenly, there was movement in the bushes. The rustling grew louder, as if something large was drawing near. Poor Jack immediately stood up, snatched a branch from the ground, and gripped it tightly. Sophia clutched his hand even harder, trembling with fear. In the darkness, two glowing eyes appeared. They were so huge that Sophia's heart nearly stopped. Jack whispered in a low, tense voice, "This isn't an ordinary animal. It's something big." The forest was wrapped in silence, broken only by strange and mysterious sounds. Sometimes something stirred in the bushes, sometimes an owl screeched in the distance. Sophia clung tightly to Jack, shivering. Hunger and thirst had weakened them even more. Suddenly, something slithered out of the bushes. A long black snake. Sophia was about to scream, but Jack quickly covered her mouth and whispered, "Quiet. If you make a sound, it might turn back on us." They both held their breath, watching as the snake glided away and disappeared into the darkness. Just as relief began to wash over them, the bushes rustled again. This time, those same glowing eyes emerged, drawing nearer. The ground trembled faintly. Heavy footsteps echoed. And then, a terrifying roar tore through the silence of the forest. The lion roared and lunged at them. Jack quickly grabbed a burning branch that had survived the crash and swung it toward the beast. The lion stepped back but then leapt forward again with furious rage. Sophia screamed while Jack waved the flame. Jack pulled Sophia close and signaled for her to run. They sprinted through the darkness, but the lion chased them relentlessly. They ran between the trees. They stumbled many times, their clothes tearing, their hands getting scratched and wounded. But stopping was not an option. The lion drew near once again. Jack hurled a heavy stone at it with all his might. The beast roared in pain and paused for a moment. Seizing the chance, Jack and Sophia scrambled up a tall tree. Below, the lion prowled restlessly, roaring in fury, but unable to climb after them. The two of them clung to the branches all night, trembling. Hunger, thirst, and exhaustion gnawed at them, but fear overshadowed everything else. Morning came, and the lion was gone. Jack and Sophia climbed down from the tree, their bodies aching with exhaustion, their throats burned with unbearable thirst. At last, they stumbled upon a small stream and drank eagerly, desperate for relief. But the jungle was far from merciful. As they moved forward, a swarm of ants hidden in the thorns attacked them, crawling all over their bodies. Just then, a wild boar burst out of the bushes and charged at them. Jack seized a wooden branch and struck it with all his strength. The beast squealed, wounded, and fled back into the undergrowth. Shaken, Sophia collapsed against Jack's chest and began to cry. Darkness once again spread across the jungle. Jack and Sophia huddled beneath the shadow of a large tree, hoping the worst was behind them. But suddenly, the same dreadful roar echoed through the forest, shaking their hearts. The lion had returned. Sophia's lips trembled as she clutched Jack's hand. "It's not going to let us go, Jack." Jack's own heart pounded furiously, but he forced himself to stay strong. "We have to fight. Otherwise, it will tear us apart." The bushes shook violently, and the beast emerged. Its eyes burned like fire. Its teeth. Sophia screamed, frozen with terror. Summoning all his strength, Jack thrust a sharp stick toward the beast's face. The tip struck near its eye, forcing the lion to recoil in rage. But it was only a moment's reprieve. The predator lunged again, its roar so powerful that the very trees seemed to shudder. Jack rolled desperately to the side, narrowly escaping its crushing weight. Sophia, trembling but determined, gathered her courage. She snatched a burning branch from the ground and hurled it at the lion, screaming with all her might. The blazing wood struck its face. The lion reared back with another furious roar, retreating slightly. Its eyes still gleamed with hunger, but the fire made it hesitate. Seizing the chance, Jack grabbed Sophia's hand and urged her to run. They sprinted through the darkness, their breaths ragged, their wounds aching. Yet the lion was relentless. Its heavy steps shook the earth behind them, each roar slicing through the night like thunder. Poor Jack and Sophia's lungs burned. Their legs screamed with pain, but they dared not stop. They knew the moment they faltered, death would descend upon them. At last, they stumbled to the edge of a cliff. Behind them, the lion. In front of them, a deep, endless chasm. Jack turned to Sophia, his eyes fierce but resolute. "This is it. Either we survive, or this is the end for us." Even with the first light of dawn, the forest slowly began to awaken. The cries of birds echoed in the mist, and the heavy fog started to fade. Sophia's eyelids grew heavy with exhaustion and sleeplessness. Just then, an unusual sound rumbled across the silence. At first, she thought it was another wild beast, but Jack suddenly raised his head. "And wait, that's a helicopter." His voice shook with hope and excitement. Sophia listened closely. Yes, there it was. A deep rumble echoed from the sky above. A helicopter circled above the trees. It was a rescue team, searching for survivors of the crash. Both Jack and Sophia waved frantically, their voices cracking with desperation. "Here! Over here!" Jack shouted at the top of his lungs. The pilot had spotted them. A thick rope dropped down, and a rescuer descended swiftly. Sophia was lifted first, with Jack steadying her climb. Then Jack himself grabbed hold of the rope. Relief seemed as the helicopter climbed higher, the burning jungle shrinking below. Smoke, and as if a camera were pulling back into the sky, the final image lingered. Sophia and Jack holding each other's hands tightly. The screen darkened, and the last words appeared. "After darkness, light always returns."